Hey, y'all. So I have been loving the conversations we're having, not just here, but also offline, right? When we are talking after the episodes have happened. And you guys are not just learning so much, but you're also teaching me a lot. We've had the opportunity to speak to someone who is a trans activist. We've had a chance to hear from Generation Z about how they're feeling about politics and the economy. And we've spoken to a sugar baby. We've had some real conversations that are widening our minds, I think opening our hearts and really helping us all grow in a time where it can feel like we are so divisive and things are friction filled. And we're also laughing a lot because these episodes, people's lives are wild, and we're having a really, really good time. So thanks for coming back to tell me more. And I am really, really excited about this one because we've been talking about it for a while. I've mentioned to you that, one of the hottest topics that's happening in this world right now is all about immigration. And that's really close to me too, because I'm a first generation immigrant. Both of my parents are from Ghana, West Africa, and they came here pursuing the American dream. And as a byproduct, I am their American dream. And I get to benefit from the amazing things that this country affords me. And I'm so thankful for it. And right now we're at a time where this has become a major conversational point. And living in Los Angeles, it is happening right outside of my door. And we're all hearing lots of different perspectives on what it is to be an immigrant, both legal and illegal. And we're also hearing a lot of perspectives on, the value and importance of migrants to our community around both our food resources and to the makeup of the American experience. But we're hearing it from people who aren't necessarily living that experience. Politicians will speak all day about what someone else wants, has done, or who they are, but how much do they actually know because they're not living it, right? So let's drop the spin and let's talk to someone who's actually lived it. Let's hear from them. And I'm really excited because my dear, sweet, incredible, brilliant friend, Andrea Cruz, is willing to be here today. Now, Andrea is a legal immigrant, just like me, just like my family. But man, she has had to go through the process where I got to benefit from my parents already doing that journey. And what's wonderful is she's going to tell us all about it. And what's also great is she's kind of just like us. She is filled with dreams, filled with opportunities, and has also built an incredible company, Hungry Drea Creations, that is a charcuterie board company. And what they do is they provide delicious spreads, but they also provide memories and moments and stories that are impactful for our families. And I think that's really the heart of a lot of immigrant experiences, right? Family and creating incredible moments. And so we want to honor that, but we also want to honor that by hearing more from Andrea. So, Andrea, thank you so much for being here today.
Well, thank you so much for asking me to be here.
I
It's
mean, it's brave, it's bold in a time where I think a lot of people are have a lot of thoughts about all things
so many
immigration. So
thoughts.
many thoughts, if there was one truth that you could zap into anyone's brain right now about immigration, about the lived experience of being an immigrant in the US, that people really need to understand and hopefully would believe, what truth would that be?
Immigrants are not a monolith, and we are, if not the hardest working group, we're pretty damn hardworking.
Oh, so, tell me more about that.
So I know a lot of the stuff that's out there is it's immigrants is this and this and that, but we're not a monolith, just like how Americans aren't a monolith. We aren't all. I know. How do I say this nicely?
I mean, say it nicely or say it messy, girl, like, either way, it's the truth, right?
Well, because a lot of the talking points are that, oh, they're criminals. They are here to, oh, my favorite word is invade this country. And
Mm,
what, like, what?
yeah.
I am an invader. Like, do it. This, what?
It's giving invader. Something
Yeah.
about the cute tank dress is giving invader, sis.
Like, we are here to work hard for our families. My parents brought us here as when we were kids. To this day, there's not one day that they haven't worked.
Mm,
And they are of past retirement age. We aren't all these things. We're such a layered community and such a diverse community that it's crazy to think like oh, this is all we are.
I think that's really relevant. Thanks for sharing that because one thing that I think really does make up the immigrant background, at least from my experience, is that immigrants are hardworking. I think back to some of the first immigrants to America, the Irish, the Italians, the English, right? Because America did not have any white people here. The very
Right.
first immigrants to, America were white people. And what was wonderful is, they came here with an intention to work. They felt like they were boxed out of their society and for some under a threat-based situation. So they came here with that intention. Now, um, and I'm actually not going back to the very, very, very beginning, right? Because the very beginning, that's colonization, right?
Mhm.
And that was a colonization situation. I think that we all understand that from history books, but I'm going back to Ellis Island, where
Yeah.
it was, we don't have upward mobility in our society, so we're able to come through. And at that point, there were not immigration laws. It was sort of, if you can get here, good luck,
Right.
right? And the point of Ellis Island was just to kind of keep track. So you've had to go through the process. We've come a long way from Ellis Island, right? So
Right.
when you get here, it isn't just write your name in a book and then be about your merry way, sort it out. I am blessed to not have had to do that process. I've witnessed my parents go through it as they became US
Mhm.
citizens. Can you tell me a little bit more about what that was like for you? How long it took? Most of us don't know.
Okay, so I came my parents brought me when I was 9.
Mhm.
So, and then it was actually really fun. When we first arrived, 'cause, my sister was, 12, 9, and then my brother was 3,
Mhm.
and we arrived to Disney World, so we were like, "Yay." But, I had no idea what any of this meant until college,
So you
and
were a kid, so you were just going with your parents,
yeah,
which seems to be a lot of immigrant
a
experiences.
lot there's I don't remember the last number. When DACA came out, I remember that there was, like, a big number of I think it was, like, 9 or 10 million
Wow.
that have come around that have a similar story,
That
that
came
were
as
brought
as
as
youngs,
children.
as
Because
children,
as a
yeah.
9-year-old, I don't know, at least me as a 9-year-old, I was I'm like, mom and dad, I believe there's immigration laws in this
Ri
country that we really need to
right,
reconsider."
right. You weren't like, "Hey, let's run across a border today, and
Yeah.
figure out, what we can do." Like, that's the case with most of the people. They didn't buy a plane ticket. They weren't able to, break things or come over illegally. They were children who didn't have a say.
So we came from Peru.
Mhm.
So we actually the 5 of us did get, I remember going to a building in Peru, and we had our appointment for a visa. So
Mhm.
the 5 of us did get a visa, which cost at that time, I believe a visa was $300 or $400 for
Each?
an app each for just the
Wow.
application.
Wow, when you were 9, so this was, without telling your age,
It's
girl.
fine.
Okay, I was gonna say, I was like,
Oh,
because
problem. This
we're all
was
20 in our
35
hearts.
years ago.
So let's just say
She's
see, we kinda reel a little, we have a little moment, it hurts, right? So, okay, so, let's say 20 years ago, $300 each for a family of
yeah,
5 while living internationally, just to get permission, right? We're not talking that doesn't include your plane ticket
just
or anything you need
right.
when you get here.
So I will also say my in Peru, my dad is a mechanical engineer, and my mom, I've always known her to work. I know that she worked as a secretary until they got married and had kids, but my mom has always done
Yeah,
something.
so I mean, but that also explains that a lot of immigrants who make it here are likely coming from a better position in their country,
Yeah,
and they're seeking even more mobility because, to even have the funds to pay for a visa,
right.
they're likely coming here based on, okay, well, I was a mechanical engineer, I'm seeking additional engineering or technical work or something to that effect.
And so we got our visa, and then we flew here, obviously. And then we did arrive in Florida. I think my uncle was a pilot, so we flew with him, which was
Mhm.
actually a cool experience because we got to go into the cockpit.
Yeah,
I don't remember too many details because again, I was 9.
yeah.
But we arrived to Disney World. I believe we were there for like a week, and then we flew to California.
Wow.
Um, and I didn't understand any what I knew we were
It
moving.
was an adventure.
Right. I knew we
Right.
were moving. I know we left our family. I knew that when we left, it was sad. But that none of that made sense
Mm.
until I was applying for college. So, and then I was like, what do you mean? Now I can't go to Harvard?
So let's talk about that because you have a couple degrees. So let's just talk about what the degrees and the work that you've done that you've accomplished.
Okay, so I managed to get my degree in biochemistry,
Mhm.
my bachelor's in biochemistry. I was gonna go back for my master's, but I was completely
Spent, girl,
spent.
spent.
I was slightly burnt out because
Mhm.
I was a working student. Because
Mhm.
guess what?
Have to be.
We don't get financial aid.
So so let's talk about this. So the first place that you actually encountered in America that you were an immigrant, and thus you may not be able to benefit from the full American dream,
Right.
that so many people think is because one of the misconceptions, and you can please correct me if I'm wrong, is that immigrants get welfare benefits, they do not pay taxes, they get free college, and they also get access to SNAP and other social programs. Please answer for this clearly. Is that true?
No. I can tell you, at least I didn't qualify for any of it.
Okay, and you know other immigrants as well, and
Right.
that's not the case.
The only like if had I had a child
Mhm.
that was born here and for whatever reason that child would have qualified for anything, then that child would have qualified.
But that's the
But
child
that's
because
not
the child's
me.
an American.
Exactly.
Got it. So when you went to apply for college, you actually weren't able to apply for financial aid.
No, I didn't receive financial aid, not a single penny, because when you fill out your FAFSA or
Yeah.
whatever, I don't even know what
It's
it's
a it's
called.
that it's the Federal Application for Student Financial Aid,
I don't even know what it's
FAFSA.
called
Mhm.
because I don't
You
I
couldn't
never
fill it out.
qualified.
Yeah.
You need a social security number. And I
Mm.
had once I started, so I actually started working from age 16. And since age 16 till present day, I've paid taxes.
And I have all the questions, and if any of this is uncomfortable, please let us know. I think a lot of us are probably learning new information, so first things first, I think that it's pretty fair to assume immigrants can't get most federal benefits if they don't have a social security
Right.
number. But how are you working and getting a job? Because one of the things that I have to, fill out when I apply for a job is my social security number. What do immigrants use in order to pay their taxes?
We have an ITIN number.
Got it.
So I don't remember when I think it was in the 90s,
Mhm.
maybe 80s. IRS came out with an ITIN because they were fully aware that people were working and not able to file taxes.
Mhm.
So they made that available.
So there is another number that is given to immigrants who may not have US citizen status that allows them to pay
Yeah.
taxes, but that number does not allow them to receive
Right.
benefits, and you are expected to pay your taxes.
100%.
And if you don't pay your taxes, can that affect your ability to apply for citizenship and other benefits?
I believe so. I'm
Yeah.
not certain.
Yeah.
Because I always did.
Mhm,
So I just
mhm.
when we went before the lawyer, everything
Was clean. Right.
was done right.
Done right, exactly, the right way, right. So, okay, so you worked since you were 16, you were contributing to America, you were, paying those taxes and benefits, but when it came time for you to sort of withdraw from it, you
Yeah.
had no
I
access.
mean, even to this day, I worked for over 30 years.
Mhm.
That doesn't count into my Social Security,
Oh my gosh. Even though you paid taxes.
even though I pay taxes for 14 years. Is that right? Did I do
Yeah.
the math right?
Yeah,
Yes.
that is the math. Wow,
Yeah.
okay, so it's interesting because I think a lot of the misconceptions, around the immigrant experience, and I think a lot of where people may feel some friction, is that immigrants are here and they are benefiting from our society, without putting into the pot.
Yeah.
But from the sounds of it, they're putting into the pot, but they're actually not
Right.
benefiting completely.
There's no health insurance.
Right.
So school, thankfully, because of my age,
Mhm.
school wasn't astronomically
Right,
ridiculous.
back then, yeah.
So I paid for some of it. My last year or two, it did double.
Mm,
Um, and then my parents were thankfully able to pay for
wow,
to I have no student loans, no nothing.
blessing.
And also at the end, I mean, I know these kids are doing this nowadays, and I really hope you do because don't buy your books, get the PDF.
Yes, yes, yes. No, get the PDF,
Get
like
the PDF.
ChatGPT, whatever you gotta do, girl. Those books are
Because these books are
expensive.
psychotic.
They're
When I was in
crazy.
school, my biology, chemistry, calculus books,
Mhm.
And physics books, they were over
Yep, like
$500.
$400 to $700 a
Yeah.
semester, and that was in, like, 1990s to early 2000 monies,
Yes.
you know, and now there's do you know it's like $1,200
That's
a semester? It's
that is
crazy. Yeah,
wild.
it's
That is
crazy,
wild.
it's crazy. So, okay, so you're coming out of pocket, you are doing your best. I have to ask you a very honest question that I think, we may see in the comments. If it was so bad and it's so hard, why did this seem worth it to you?
But this is all I knew. This is all I knew. I you can drop me off today, literally right after this, in the middle of Peru, and I would have no idea what to do.
Do you speak Spanish?
Oh, yeah. We were not allowed to speak English at home.
Oh, wow, so tell me more about that.
So my parents knew that we needed to be bilingual, especially living in Southern California, and so we weren't allowed to speak English at home.
So one of the things that people will often say is that, you know, if you're going to be in America, how do you feel about the assimilation to the culture? Obviously, you speak perfect English, right?
Thanks.
You know, yeah, you speak perfect English. So here you are, you've assimilated to the culture, but what are your thoughts around, you know, seeing the importance in preserving your culture as well? Do you think that makes you less American?
No, because, like, what's the definition of American?
That's a great question.
Because there isn't, depending how far back you wanna go, they're not the first people here.
Hmm.
So and it's always been like, "Come, bring your" I forgot.
Melting
It's a
pot, right?
it's a giant melting pot.
Hmm.
What does it say on the Statue of Liberty?
Right.
Right? So, I believe American is like this big buffet,
A little
let's
bit of
call it.
everything, right. It's also I think one of the things I love about being in America is that we also have within the United States different regional cultures, right? So there's Southern culture and it has its own
Mhm.
cuisine. You go up to Maine, it has its own
Right.
cuisine, you know, and all of those cultures are influenced by French Creole or Cuban or, you know, Tex-Mex or, you know, all these things that are considered American often have heavy influences, you know, from
100%.
the immigrant culture
Yeah.
of that area.
And even within, because I know one of the big things is like, "Oh, you should learn the language." I
Mhm,
full-heartedly agree,
mhm.
but not lose
Who
just
your
because you're
identity.
learning English, it doesn't mean that forget it. Everything that you have known beforehand and everything from all of your family before you, that no longer matters. That's it. Now
Mm.
this is now your new you, which that doesn't happen anywhere in
Right.
the
No,
world.
it doesn't happen here either, you know, a lot we celebrate the 4th of July and people are like, you know, "My family is 4th generation Atlantan," you know, and that's because they're proud of their
Yeah.
culture, you know, "This is my mom's old Southern biscuit recipe," you know, and they're excited about that because that's part of their culture, so I think that, yeah, it's really amazing how there is this belief, you know, that we need to assimilate to the American culture, but I think you asked a really introspective question, "What is American?" So
'Cause even within I go to New York, people immediately know I'm from LA. Like,
Mm.
I'm walking down the street and people are like, "This girl is not from
She's not
here."
from here. That's because you're wearing bright colors and not all black. You tell on
And
yourself.
here in winter, and I'm sure now that you've been here in LA for so long, you can be like, "That person is
Yes.
in shorts and a T-shirt. They
That's
are
right.
not from LA."
That's right, you're new here. I'm like, cause no, if that temperature drops below 60, I'm like, "Someone get me a parka."
Yeah.
I've been here too long. It's so true. I think calling out our differences is one more way to, you know, illustrate that, you know, there are differences, but it's not necessarily bad. It's like the core of what
It's
being
what makes
American
us
is.
it's
American.
what makes this country this country. It's what makes this country so great.
So let's talk more then about sort of the immigrant process. So you get through college, you do all of that, and meanwhile, you are working, you are contributing, you are growing, you are,
I
you
was
know,
working full time, I'm going to school full
I
time.
mean, bananas, right?
Thank God for the 20s.
Yes, yes, and then biochemistry, like, oh my gosh, like, it's not like that's minor, right? Organic chemistry alone has people crying, right?
It does.
Orgo is tough. So, that being said, you finish college, you get into the world. There's another thing that is often said about immigrants that, you know, they are taking an unfair portion of jobs, but, you know, the other, work that's commonly associated with immigrants is the work that Americans may not want to do,
Yeah,
you know, like, the migrant community is huge out here in
100%.
California because we produce, I believe, just and someone can correct me in the
I
comments
think it's
on
like
this, it's like
80%.
80%
Mhm.
of produce, you know, for the
For
United
the whole
States,
country.
you know, for the
Yeah.
entire country. And I can honestly say as a gardening girl, I have picked my own fruits and
Mhm.
vegetables. I have never picked en masse, you know, for anyone, but that is a major part of,
Yeah.
you know, we do not have another way. That is how we do it here in
Right.
America. So knowing that the work is either work that Americans don't want to do or biochemistry, right? I don't want to do that. That still falls under the category of work I don't want to do. What was that experience like for you? Did you have to get like a work visa, or like how did it work later on trying to stay employed as an adult,
Okay, so
with an
as an
immigrant
adult,
status?
I never was able to find work in my field because once
Mm.
I was already an adult, E-Verify was a thing.
What
So
is E-Verify?
E-Verify is a system that the federal government has that any employer can go in and input the social security number that's given, and it's like a way to verify that the person is able to work in the United States.
So that is something that I think a lot of people also don't know, around like sort of checking the process. That's I have hired, so I'm familiar with
Yeah,
E-Verify, but most people who aren't employers would not know this. So
right.
there's also a conception that, people, you already told me people don't have social security numbers, they have other numbers. But
Yeah,
if for some reason someone were to use another person's social security number,
it's gonna flag it.
it'll flag it, so the system, there are processes there
Right. It won't
if an employer
match. It'll be
looks.
like, hey, this number doesn't match.
Got it. So
In
that
my
right
case,
there,
my ITIN didn't was like this number doesn't exist as a social security number because it's not a
because it's
social
not.
security number.
Got it. So what
So
did you do?
I started doing work that didn't require oh my gosh, what is it called? Contractual work?
Yeah, contract
1099
work. Yeah, 1099.
as a independent contractor.
Yeah. So you worked as basically you became an entrepreneur, which is not
There's not
uncommon.
been a day that I have not worked.
Wow. Wow.
And if you really want to like take it all the way back, I actually started in the city of Covina used to, I don't know if they still have it, but they had a volunteer program. So if you were too old to like do their teen programs, but
Mhm.
not old enough to work, you went and you chose what department you wanted to work in, and you
Mhm.
got paid $1 an
Mm.
hour,
Oh
like
my
as your
gosh.
volunteer. So I actually started working at 15 or
Wow.
14. But there hasn't been a time because it's like, okay, well, this store was closed
Mhm.
because of systems were put in place for it. So I'm not angry about it at all. But it was like, ugh, okay, this is not gonna work. Let's go here.
Sure.
And let's go here.
Sure.
So it was just trying to find all of the 1099 work that I
But I
could.
mean, there's also some stress, I imagine, with not knowing your work is reliable. Like you got to eat.
Right.
So again, I'm going to ask you here, people will say, why didn't you do it the right way? Right. That you've heard that phrasing, which, let's talk about
So
what
frustrating.
it is frustrating. And most people may not understand what that means. Right. So your parents didn't come over the right way. You didn't have a say over that, supposedly. Well, they did come over the right way. They did the visa, they were
Yeah, we
legal,
did
all
the
that.
visa.
So they did that. At what point were you going to do it the right way to become a citizen and, benefit fully from the American experience? And what does that look like?
So the right way is so frustrating to hear people say that because one, they don't know the right. They
Yeah,
don't
tell
know
us
what
what
they're
it is.
saying.
What is it? What does that
And
even
then
mean?
two, it's like a lot of people think you just go up to like, hey, immigration office, I would
Mhm,
like to get my residency.
mhm.
Thanks. That's not at all how it works because there needs to be a pathway for you to do it. The easiest way is to marry a citizen.
So that is the quickest pathway to American citizenship is to fall in love, get married, and get citizenship that way.
Right. But fall in love with a natural born citizen.
Oh,
It's the
so it can't
fastest way.
oh, so you actually can't become a citizen if that person also had a green card. So there is no way that
There
other
is, it just
immigrants.
takes longer.
Ah, I see. I
So the
see.
fastest, easiest, like most quote unquote open shut case
Mhm.
is
90-day fiance.
yeah,
Got it. The
literally.
K-1 visa. Like find someone, marry them, boom, you're in.
Yeah.
Got it. And
And
even then, are you really in? Because there's still interviews and all that stuff, right?
well, some people have believe that once you're married, you're good.
Mhm.
But no, once you're married, now you can apply.
Oh, so and I think this is worth noting, what we're talking about actually isn't even getting your papers right away. It's
Mm-mm.
that once you have decided I am going to sort of official the process, right? Or do it the right way or whatever languaging people want to use, it's finding the way you can submit an application.
Right.
It's basically saying, I always like to use this as an example. You're ready to find a job, and you're basically saying, here's the website, you can apply. That does not mean you have the
That
job.
doesn't mean you have the job.
So for some people who are here as immigrants that either came as children, didn't have a choice, or are just married to someone and in love and maybe even have kids or whatever, or they're students or whatever,
Yeah.
they still need a place to put in their application. They still need a way to be able to even do
A
that.
way to be able to
And
do
for
that.
some, that doesn't exist.
100 right. It didn't exist for me, because then people are gonna be like, "Well, what about DACA?" I was too old for DACA. And DACA doesn't
Wow.
even give you your residency.
And for those who don't know, DACA was basically a pathway to citizenship that was specifically for people who were brought in as young children,
Mhm.
but it did kind of cap out at a certain
Yeah.
age. But it was just trying to encourage people who were in that weird, wonky window
Right.
to be able to submit an application, basically creating a new application form.
But and the thing
That
is,
they
it
could
gives
use.
them protection. It doesn't
Protection.
give them their residency.
Right. It's just saying, hey, here's a place you can
Yeah.
apply, and we're giving you time to kind of figure that out.
So they're being vetted and all the things, and they have to prove that they were brought before being an adult and that they have been here for so long and that they went to school here. Like, there's
But
things
not
that you need to
criminals,
prove.
not doing anything
Right.
wrong, contributing to
You can't.
society,
There's
all of those things.
if you have any criminal record, you cannot get. Your application will more than likely get declined.
So for most immigrants that are here that apply and go through the process in whatever ways they apply, if you have a criminal record, you will be declined.
More than likely.
And then if you have submitted and you have put in all your information, accurately told the truth, and you are a criminal and you've been declined, what will happen to you?
I'm assuming that you get deported.
So I just want to make sure we understand clearly that if you are someone who is likely eligible for deportation, they know where you are
100%.
and they can probably just knock on your door and come get you.
I fully believe this.
I know that this is the
I
case.
am
Because one thing that I remember about this past election for a lot of people because I think it's worth saying categorically, and I think it's always worth kind of shouting out, I don't like criminals. Do you like
Right.
criminals?
No.
No, me neither. Okay, good.
It's a conversation that, like, my group of friends and I have all
Yeah.
the time. Like, hey, if so and so is a criminal, is out there killing, stabbing, raping,
Yes,
please,
stealing even.
by all means,
Absolutely. Get rid of them. Like
I will walk them there myself.
I will turn them in myself.
Yeah.
Partly because also, as a first generation immigrant myself, you make me look bad. I'm not
Yeah.
even, why are you here acting out? Like, behave yourself, So I am very much 100% categorically in support of somebody who is abusing American
Yes.
privileges to not have access to those privileges.
Agree.
However, the definition of abusing American privileges is not a traffic ticket, and it
It's
is
not.
not submitting an application, right, for legal rights.
Right.
That's not an abuse of privileges, right?
No.
So we're all on the same page and I think that this was something that was said pretty heavily for several of you who talked to me in the DMs on social during the election period. It was said by the administration that's actually currently in office because they, won the election. It was said that they know where the criminals are.
Mhm.
That was something that was said. You can Google that. I'm not putting words in their mouth, and that they knew who they needed to target and that they needed to get
Right.
them, right? But what we're kind of witnessing now
Absolutely not
is
that.
not that, right? That
No.
there seems to be a little bit, and I think, and again, we're not having confusion about that. I think everyone can agree there seems to be we got to go find them,
Mhm.
or we're going into parks, workspaces, places where criminals tend not to hang out. Like criminals aren't really in schools, and they're not
Right.
really in factories, and they're not really in hospitals,
Right.
and they're not really on playgrounds,
Home Depot parking
or they're
lot.
not in Home Depot parking
Looking
lots.
for work.
It's a little too easy. You know what I mean? Like they're not really working, selling tacos because that's
Yeah.
a job, and these people are now being taken in for questioning, detainment, and eventual deportation. I did look online and I saw, as released by the US government, so this is just current administration, I can put the links below in the show notes, that of the detainees that are in custody right now, something like 80% of them, 75 to 80% of them, have no criminal record. So I'm going to ask you categorically, and you can choose to decline if you want to, but is part of why you waited to apply because you have a criminal record, or that you're secretly like,
I am such a criminal.
like, so it's not that.
Nicole, you're
I
you're
know,
letting
I
out
know,
all of my dirty
I know.
laundry.
I just so it's not that. It's not that you're
No.
secretly hiding anything. It's just that you were in the process.
There was no way for me to do it.
So what do you do?
Well, you put your head down and look, I'm also well aware of what I look like.
You're right.
Most of the time, my hair is fully blonde.
Mhm.
I just, being 6 hours in the chair is like,
Girl, we all relate. Okay.
and we live in Southern California.
Mhm.
So
You
I'm
blend.
sure I super blend.
Yeah.
And if I want to, I went to school in a very like valley area,
Mhm.
which is where this little accent that comes in from time to time.
You can blend more if you need
I could
to.
blend more.
Yeah.
I have only been stopped once I actually avoided going down to San Diego.
So you're telling me you were stopped for an immigration question
Okay,
or
so when you go down to San Diego on the way back, there's a checkpoint.
okay.
So I knew that checkpoint existed
Most people
there.
don't know about this or live in a place like that. Can you tell us what that means? Is this something that is new as of this administration or has this
No,
always
it's
existed?
always been there,
Okay.
and it was a hit or miss if it was opened or if it wasn't opened.
And this is a checkpoint for driving and
Yes.
it's a checkpoint specifically for immigration?
I think it's an agricultural slash
Anything that's an
customs.
issue.
Yes.
And this is within the US. This isn't a border
This is
checkpoint.
well over, oh, you know what? I don't even know if it's 100 miles. No, it's probably not 100
But
miles.
it's inside the
It's
US.
inside of the US. So it was closed or not active or
Mhm.
whatever for a while.
Okay.
And then in 2016, it was reopened.
Okay.
But ever since I turned 18, and if
Mhm.
anybody wanted to go to San Diego, I'll be like, peace out. You guys enjoy yourselves.
Got it.
Because I wasn't going to go
Run the
through
risk
that.
of that.
So we were driving back, and by we is a family, but we were in 2 different cars. And I was fully blonde, by the
Mm.
way, in this moment. And my parents, they just waved them through, and then the guy pulled me off to the side, and he's like, "Where are you coming from?" And
Mm.
I'm like, shitting my pants, by the
Yeah.
way. And in that moment, I was like, from like San Diego,
With your blonde hair and blue eyes. Like San Diego?
a little
Girl.
annoyed, like that annoyed tone,
Yeah, like, "Why are you asking me?"
but terrified inside.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Okay, what were you doing there?" And I'm like, "Helping my sister move." It's like, "Where are you going?" "Home." "Where's home?" Like, "Do you want like my address or do you need just the city?" And he's like, "What's your address?" He was so annoyed with me, which
Mhm.
was exactly what I wanted.
Right, right,
'Cause
like, just like, "Move on, I don't have time, like,
This girl is
go."
annoying. And so, like, eventually he got over me and he's like, "Okay, go ahead."
But you were probably so scared.
I was terrified.
Yeah.
I was terrified because I'm like, "Okay, what do I do?" Who, like,
Yeah. Well, what's interesting about that also is, here you are, blonde hair, blue eyes, young, driving just a truck. There's nothing to indicate that you weren't an American citizen.
Nothing.
So,
Because California plates.
California plates. So knowing that that's the case as American citizens, there is some awareness around whatever is happening presently or whatever is yet to come could easily affect American citizens as well. Even if you get waved through, you
Yeah.
may still be a byproduct of the experience.
And I hear, well, they're doing their job, or
Mhm.
um it's just, like, if you have nothing to hide, why are you so worried? And it's like, yes, but at the same time, how far are we letting this go?
Mm.
Like, should you be okay with not only being stopped and questioned? Sure. Hey, where were you? What were you doing? Okay, cool. But you're gonna go to secondary, and then you're gonna
Yeah,
be detained there for hours.
yeah.
Then what if they don't like your answers, or
Or if you're not ready or you don't have stuff or yeah,
like, who's driving around with their birth certificate?
I'm not. I feel like I should though. I'm not kidding. Like I do feel like, do I need to drive around? I drive around with my passport card now.
From the people that I have asked, they don't drive around with their birth
Most
certificate.
people don't have passports. They're expensive.
Most don't have a copy of their birth certificate.
Do you know they don't mail as a recent baby having woman, they don't mail them out automatically anymore in California. You have to request it and go get it. So I kept waiting for, our baby Josie's social security card came in the mail automatically because when you're an American citizen, you're assigned a number
Yeah.
automatically. But, and some states are actually looking to change that now. That was recently thrown down. I want to say in Maine, maybe New Hampshire, where they were trying to do an application process for a social
That's
security
crazy.
card. Yeah. Where it's like the baby came out of me here.
Yeah.
What am I like? How did I sneak this baby in? But nevertheless, yeah, I just,
But
yeah,
most millen
wild.
I'm gonna, like, assume
Mhm.
many things right now, but I will say most younger Gen Xers, millennials, and Gen Zers don't have their birth certificate. Their parents more than likely have it.
That's facts. Yeah, that's facts.
So if you are driving home from San Diego
Mhm.
and you get stopped and then you go into secondary and you're like,
What is secondary?
I
Can you
was,
just
well, they take you from just being in your car. They're like, no, 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 pull over here. We need to question you further.
Mm,
So then you go, I'm assuming this is what it looks like. Thank you, Jesus. I have never gone to secondary. Like, you're
yeah,
probably going to this ugly room
yeah.
that isn't warm and welcoming.
Which is just scary in general, right? Like,
Yes.
and mind you, you're on your way to go do whatever, you know? And so
Yeah.
it's like now this whole thing is happening.
And then they question you some more.
Mhm.
And if they're like, okay, prove it, how are you going to prove it? You get a phone call, like,
Right.
and what if it's 2 a.m? Is your
Mm.
parent, what if your parent doesn't even live in the area? What if your parent is in Maine
Mhm.
or anywhere in the East Coast?
Mhm.
So now you're going through unnecessary things.
I think this is a really valid call out that even if you're someone who's like, look, I agree with this current administration or I love what's happening, even if you're one of those people who is in that category, it doesn't really change the fact that I think what you're illustrating is so key about why we want to be mindful about any means necessary
Mm-hmm.
because I don't want to be detained, period. And even if I have the ability to prove it, even if I
Yeah.
haven't done anything, what does it look like as a woman, a mom of 4 daughters, driving and being pulled over and detained in a room full of a bunch of men that I do not know, and
Right.
having no means to assure when I'm gonna get out of there or contact my family to say I'm not there? What if you're a breastfeeding mom? Those are the things that I think a lot of people have fear about, and I can really relate to what you're saying here,
Yeah.
when you say that was a scary moment for you.
Oh, yeah. Terrifying.
Let's kind of fast forward to the now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, we're talking about how this current administration is kind of putting a focus, on immigration as being a real point, towards what their campaign promises that they say they want to address. Um, when did you detect a change? Because that's part of why, we talk about this stuff all the time offline,
Yeah.
right? When did you start detecting a change in the air for you, and how are you seeing that change manifest?
So as the years passed, things got harder and harder
Mhm.
because technology was catching up to us, right?
Mm.
But for me, I noticed the change, at least in the country and in what was being put out there, is during the 2016 elections.
Okay.
The rhetoric that was thrown out was just
Different.
mean,
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
unkind. And I get it. None of us like to own up to our hardships.
Mm.
It's hard to look at yourself in the mirror and say, my life is this way because I did XYZ.
Or I could have done this differently or
So it's
yeah.
easier to blame the bad guy, right? So you find a bad guy in your life and you're like, oh, this is why.
And there's someone really different from you that you may not understand.
And so the
Yeah.
rhetoric well, that rhetoric has always been there. Let me just say, if it hasn't been because of the Black community, it's been because of immigrants.
Or the Jewish community or, the Italian community, the
Yeah.
Irish community. I mean, there's always the Cuban community. There's always been that friction.
The Going after the immigrant has been something that has happened in this country for
Beginning of time.
years. But right now it's like, oh, your life is hard because these people are here.
Mhm.
Your life is hard because they're taking this away from you.
Mhm.
Your life is hard because that job that you wanted, you can't have it because this immigrant has taken it from you. And so that rhetoric just got louder and louder and louder. And that's when I was like,
What's going on
come,
here?
come be in the lab.
Yeah. Yeah.
By all means.
Yeah.
Like if your kid didn't go to college, it's not because I went to college. Your kid didn't get a degree in biochemistry because I took his place or her place. That's not why. It's because they don't want to.
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
I'm not the bad guy.
And that's also okay, you know?
It's totally okay.
Yeah.
There's so many things that you can do with your
Mhm.
life and not being able to do this one
Mhm.
because I was gonna say Joe Schmo, but
Yeah.
the right name, like,
Anyone.
if you
Yeah.
wanna Jose or Maria took it, like, that's not
Mhm.
why.
Mhm. No, that's
That's not
true.
why.
No, that's true. So when in going through the process now, right? So, it's worth always saying, and everyone knows here, I always try to like no judgment level set, right? Just,
Mhm.
anyone's story is their story. Deportation, like you mentioned, has existed through every
Every
administration.
administration.
That is not new. Some of the toughest deportation laws were put into place under Bill Clinton.
Mhm.
So when you were sitting down recently and you were going over sort of the process and things
Mhm.
like that with a lawyer, it came to light, I think, that one of the toughest deportation laws was actually enacted under Bill Clinton. So and we're seeing sort of impacts of it today. It was a surprise to you.
It was a total surprise for me
Mhm.
because it's always, especially with, like, the division that it is now so in the forefront that, oh no, the left doesn't care or the right cares or whatever it is. For me, it was a surprise to see that it made it that much harder for me to get my residency,
Mhm.
and that it was harder because of Clinton.
Mm. So, I think that there is a lot of belief that we basically were living willy-nilly with immigration, prior to the current administration. But just from your story alone, there were checkpoints, there's fear, there are tough laws that were enacted under liberal presidents,
Mhm.
and all of that. But the biggest difference that seems to exist now is there seems to be more of a mainstream conversation that is more painful, more hurtful, more attack driven.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I know social media has changed. The internet has changed
Yes.
everything, and on top of that, social media has changed everything. But it's like we aren't the problem.
I That's real. You could say that's real. That's real. I mean, and you've been in this process now for, you said, 30 years, and
So it took me almost 31 years to finally get my residency. And it's because there was no way. Like we said previously, I had to get married for my residency to be done. And even then, you don't just like, oh, hey, yay, I married somebody.
Mhm.
You fill out your application, you pay a lot of money.
Can you
And
tell us,
then,
what does the money look like? Just
um,
curious if you're okay with it.
so the application fee, I think the application fee was almost $1,000, just the application. And then on top of that is whatever your lawyer. If you go through, you don't have to have a lawyer. Their website actually has a lot of information.
And you can
I
still be rejected.
and you can still be rejected.
So you
You
can
could
pay
do
all that
everything
money.
right if the agent, for whatever reason, was like, no,
Mhm.
I don't believe you. You guys aren't really married. I
And then
could have
that's it.
been rejected.
Even though you have been here, because your story is truly, I've met your husband, seen the whole vibes. You guys are really in love. You guys have the cutest dog, like, it's real. So, and and you've been together for a while. So it's not just
Yes.
like, because you grew up here. So you just met someone, fell in love, but you were already considering and doing the process.
Hmm.
But then you also happen to, like any other American kid, meet someone, fall in love, and get married. So you're like, fine, we'll just do this pathway.
Right.
Got it.
Yeah. So I know that you can get, like, your work can sponsor you,
Mhm.
but your work has to prove that you are literally the only person in the world that can do this job.
So they can't even just make up a job or give you, like, a crappy job
It
or
depends if the
anything like that.
company wants to do it right.
Right, right, right.
And the company is now
Wow,
your sponsor. So they're
wow.
practically responsible for you.
So if you quit your job or don't do well or commit a crime or whatever else, there are other repercussions there.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Whoever is your sponsor is saying, "Hey, I take responsibility for this person." In my case, my husband.
Of course, which is fine.
Um,
You take responsibility
right.
for him.
Like,
Those vows were done.
yeah, we
So
said I do.
yeah. So that's, I mean, so it's just wild because one of the things you said to me before we even turned the cameras on when we were chatting was, you've been in this process for 30 years and yet you feel like your case was an open and shut one, is what your lawyer
My
said.
well, my case was easy, right? Because
30 years is easy?
my case was easy because I we came with a visa,
Mhm.
so we didn't cross the border.
Yeah, you're
So
legal.
if you cross the border, that's an obstacle
Mhm.
already. And then I went to school. I did all the right things. Not a criminal. Not committed any crimes.
Mhm.
Might have gotten a traffic ticket or two, but
Real life. Who hasn't?
no crime at all whatsoever.
Mhm.
And it looked great that I have my degree, and it looked
Mhm.
great that I've always worked. It
Mhm.
looked great that I've paid taxes, that I have my
Mhm.
ITIN number, and
Mhm.
I've done all these things.
Mhm.
And then we have proof. I literally walked into our appointment with a encyclopedia of our life.
Wow.
We need to have proof that you live together. So if the house is yours, like, you both should be on the title. The mortgage should be under both of you guys' names. Now, if you rent, then you both should be on the lease. Then electricity, all of your utilities should be under both of you guys'
All
names.
these things, like, who would have even thought, right? Because if we just think as, like, regular Americans, we're not thinking, "Oh, both of us, both of us." You might just be doing things anyway. So, what I'm hearing is, as an American citizen, I don't know if I would pass this exam. Like, being for
Yes.
real, like, if I had to go in to apply for my own citizenship, I don't know if I would get it, and that is really scary.
Yeah. We applied after being married more than 2 years so I can have my permanent residency.
Mhm.
not my temporary, because then if you apply immediately, you get a temporary,
Mhm.
because after 2 years, then you need to reapply to change
Mm.
it from temporary to
So just another
permanent.
fee, another process,
Right.
another, yeah.
Because I get it. You got to make sure that this is
Yeah.
a real
Yeah.
marriage.
Yeah.
Fully understand. So we waited. So we had to prove 3 years worth of marriage. So I printed so many things that when I went to pick up my stuff from Staples, they gave it to me in one of those
They put it
boxes.
into a paper box because they said this is too much stuff. I mean, and this is what I mean when I say, okay, people are going to listen to your story, like, which I'm grateful for everyone who's listening. People are going to listen to this and they're going to say, well, you're not the ones that we're worried about, right?
Right. I
You're,
hear that all the time. Well, not you.
so
You're one
tell
of
me
the good
about that because
ones.
you're one of the good ones. I hear that all the time too. It's like, Nicole, you're not what we're talking about, girl. Like, you're not it. So you live in a community, with people who have varying, like you started off by saying we're not a monolith, right? Like
Hmm.
their immigrant experience is varied. So some people who are the ones that they're talking about, right? People who may have come across the border, people
Right.
who are, working and maybe taking cash for their work, because they're trying to figure out what does it look like based on what you've seen from some of those experiences for them right now.
In our community, in all of the Facebook groups, there's so many people that are so terrified to leave their house that now we're all buying groceries for them, or we're ordering Instacart for them. We're taking them to places because they don't even want to show their face outside because of their status. They don't feel safe.
And the status as in they are in the process of application for some of them are waiting for their opening to
Yeah.
apply, but these are also criminals or
No.
okay, so can you just describe, like, is it like moms? Are they older people?
Yeah,
Are they
it's a
kids?
mix
Are
of
they
everything. There's
okay.
kids that were afraid to go to school. There's
Mm.
kids that didn't go to their graduation. Their, mind you, elementary graduation,
Oh,
not high school, not college.
5th graders,
Fifth graders. There's fifth graders that are terrified for their parents.
'cause they don't
Like
know if they'll
they
get to
don't
come
know if they're
home.
coming home. In my inner circle, in the family, I was definitely the last one.
Mhm.
And I want to say in my circle of friends, I also believe I was the last one because most of my friends are first generation
Right,
here.
right.
But in my broader community, especially being involved with the business and trying to be involved within my community, we have the elotero that goes by our house all the time.
So what is a elotera?
The elote man is the guy that comes around with a little horn and his little like cart,
So
and
just
he's
like
like,
street vendors selling food,
yeah.
right?
So
Okay.
you hear his horn, and 2 weeks ago maybe we ran out. We ran out. We were like, "What are you doing here?
Uh-huh.
You need to go. You need to go. You cannot
Mm.
be out here." Although our neighborhood is okay, like we haven't seen any activity in our
Mhm.
neighborhood, but there's definitely still within the city,
And you
and
never know when the day is the day.
we never know. And I'm like, "Don't go here. Stay here. This is a safe neighborhood. Please don't." And it's the same guy that comes by all the
You guys
time.
know him. So he's
Yeah,
a
he's a
part of the
young kid.
community.
He's maybe 22 at the most,
Oh my gosh.
and he's there all every day.
I'm gonna ask a really tough question only because I know it's stated. Is this guy MS-13 or a gang member?
To my knowledge, no. But no,
So
like,
most of these
I
people
don't
are like
think
family people,
yeah.
working
I
class,
don't think the ringleader of any of these gangs is selling elotes
corn,
or selling flowers in the corner
right,
or,
outside of a cemetery
I don't know, selling strawberries in the parking lot of
or
Costco.
fruit. Okay.
Yeah, I
So,
don't.
okay, so the people that you're talking about that are, either A, actually disappearing or B, have fear of being
Mhm.
disappeared, into the, immigration system are not people that, to your knowledge, are, gang members.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
Um,
they're hardworking
hardworking
individuals.
individuals that, you see and buy food from and,
Yeah,
people
but
are taking them groceries so that they're safe.
people for me growing up, it's really rare that I ever told anybody that I was undocumented.
Mm.
Nobody ever knew.
Mhm.
And the only time they knew if a lot of conversations were being said around me about like, oh, they're this and they're that and they're
Right.
here. And then it will like give me this fire that I will be like, well, I'm one.
Yeah.
Oh, well, no, not you.
Right.
Well, why not me? Then who? Because like me, there's millions.
Mm.
It's the minority. And stats show that your regular American is more than likely to commit a crime than an undocumented person.
That is true. That
It
is
is a fact.
statistically, it's just a fact.
It's a fact.
There's more regular Americans than there are someone who's undocumented.
And
Yeah.
even the percentage, like
Mhm.
even if you go by the percentage of undocumented people that commit crimes, it's very low.
Yeah, I think
And
it's
those are the
I wanna
ones
say it's
that
less
are
than
like
1%
those
or
are the
yeah, it's
ones
really
that
low.
nope. We're like, yeah, sure,
Mhm.
yes.
There's going to be some bad apples in every bunch, you know?
It's always not all men, not all women, not all cops, not all
Mhm. Not all
whatever.
politicians, right? But there are politicians who can commit crimes and,
Yeah, if it's
run for
not all
office.
blank,
Mhm.
then it's also not all immigrants.
I think that is such a nice little bringing it back home to what you said. You're not a monolith, which means, we're not all the same and we all deserve to be honored and respected
Yeah.
within our individuality. That said, if there was one big ask, that you could put out there on behalf of yourself and, honoring what you've gone through and on behalf of the immigrant experience, something that I identify with as well, um, to warm people's hearts, change their hearts, or help them just keep in mind, what would it be?
Just be kind. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether you think this person might or might not be undocumented, or they might or might not think like you think, or they might or might not like what you like. You have no idea what's going on back there. And as God girls, we are literally called to love our neighbor.
Mm.
There isn't like only if blah 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 blah. There is just like love your neighbor, period.
Mm. Period.
That's it. There's no like asterisk that you now have to like look like why which neighbor do I love?
Mm. That is so good and so true, and I think that's something that we all can do. Thank you so much for telling us so much more about you, your life, and what we can do to be better every single day. Thank you for that.
It was my